The summons. Dr. Sarah Chen had been working at the Galactic Diplomatic Corps for exactly 3 weeks when she received the message that would change everything. Her office was small, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the massive space station that served as neutral ground for thousands of alien species. Most days, she filed paperwork, translated routine documents, and tried not to feel useless. The message appeared on her screen at 0300 station time. Report to High Command immediately. Priority Alpha. Sarah stared at the words, heart hammering. Priority Alpha meant emergency. It meant something had gone catastrophically wrong. Junior translators like her never got Priority Alpha summons. Those went to senior diplomats with decades of experience. She dressed quickly, her hands shaking as she fastened her uniform. The corridors were empty at this hour, her footsteps echoing against metal floors. The High Command chamber was at the station's center, protected by multiple security checkpoints. Guards waved her through without questions, which somehow made everything worse. Inside, she found herself facing the Diplomatic Council, 12 beings from 12 different species, all looking equally exhausted and desperate. At the head of the table sat Ambassador Kreldar, a Vortaxian whose crystalline body pulsed with agitated colors. Dr. Chen, Kreldar's voice resonated through her translation implant. Thank you for coming on short notice. We have a situation. Sir, I'm just a junior translator. Surely there's someone more. There is no one else, another council member interrupted. This was Ambassador Till, a Matharian whose tentacles writhed with visible stress. What we're about to tell you is classified at the highest level. You'll understand why we chose you shortly. Sarah sat, gripping the armrests to keep her hands steady. The crisis. Kreldar projected a hologram above the table. It showed 2 planets, orbital paths highlighted in angry red. The Kronath Empire and the Silk Collective have been at war for 17 years. 3 billion casualties. 12 worlds rendered uninhabitable. The fighting has reached a stalemate, but neither side will negotiate. We've tried everything, Till added. 53 different mediators from 40 different species. All failed. The Kronath consider most species too weak to understand honor. The Sil view outsiders as intellectually inferior. They refuse to speak to each other, and they refuse to speak to us. Sarah's stomach sank. And you want me to try? Sir, I've never mediated anything more complex than a scheduling dispute. Why would they listen to me when they've rejected experienced diplomats? The council members exchanged glances. Finally, Kreldar spoke. Because humans are new to the galactic community. You have no history with either species. No debts, no alliances, no prejudices. And frankly, Dr. Chen, you're our last option. If this fails, the war will expand. Current projections suggest 14 more systems will be drawn into conflict within 6 months. Estimated casualties, 70 billion. 70 billion. The number was too large to comprehend. Sarah thought about Earth, about the 7 billion people living their lives, completely unaware of the galactic crisis unfolding around them. She thought about her parents, her sister, her friends. Could she refuse, knowing what was at stake? What do I need to do? She heard herself ask. The preparation. They gave her 3 days to prepare. 3 days to learn everything about 2 civilizations that had spent centuries building complex societies, religions, and hatreds. 3 days to become an expert on issues that had baffled specialists for nearly 2 decades. Sarah didn't sleep. She read histories, cultural analyses, military reports. She studied the Kronath honor codes, elaborate rules governing combat, status, and respect. She learned about Sil cognitive patterns. Their society valued collective intelligence and viewed individual achievement as meaningless. On the surface, the 2 species were incompatible. The Kronath were warriors who believed strength determined worth. The Sil were hive-minded intellectuals who made decisions through consensus. The war had started over a territorial dispute but had evolved into something deeper, a fundamental clash of worldviews. Ambassador Till visited her office on the second day. You look terrible, he observed, not unkindly. Thanks, Sarah muttered, rubbing her eyes. I'm trying to understand why no one has solved this. Everyone keeps saying the species are too different, but that can't be the whole story. People find common ground all the time. Not these people. The Cronath see the Sill as cowards who hide behind numbers. The Sill see the Cronath as primitive brutes. Both are partially correct, which makes finding middle ground nearly impossible. Sarah frowned at her screen, where she'd been comparing Cronath battle poems with Sill philosophical texts. But they're both trying to protect something they value. The Cronath fight for honor and legacy. The Sill fight for collective survival. Those aren't opposite goals, they're parallel ones. Till's tentacles stilled. Explain. Both species fear being forgotten. The Cronath write poetry about their battles because they want their deeds remembered. The Sill maintain collective memories going back thousands of years. They're both terrified of meaninglessness. They just express it differently. For a long moment, Till said nothing. Then, that's actually insightful. Have you mentioned this to anyone else? No, why? Don't. Save it for the negotiation. It might be the angle that saves all our lives. The meeting. The neutral meeting facility was a space station smaller than the diplomatic corps headquarters, positioned exactly between Cronath and Sill territories. Sarah arrived first, escorted by security drones that would ensure no violence occurred. The room was circular, with 3 chairs arranged in a triangle. Neutral gray walls. No decorations. Nothing to give any party advantage. Commander Thrak'Enar arrived next. He was massive, easily 8 feet tall, covered in scales that looked like armor plating. Scars decorated his face, each one representing a battle survived, a story earned. He looked at Sarah with open disdain. They send a child? His voice was deep, resonating in her chest. This is the insult the council offers? A human who has seen no war, won no honor? Sarah stood, keeping her voice steady. Commander, I'm here because both our people asked me to be. If you believe I'm not worth your time, you're welcome to leave. But if you stay, I ask for the basic respect of being heard. Thrak'Enar's eyes narrowed. Then, surprisingly, he laughed. You have courage, at least. Small courage, but courage nonetheless. Very well, human child. I will hear your words. The Sill representative arrived moments later, not one being, but 7, linked through neural implants that allowed them to think as a single entity. They moved in perfect synchronization, settling into their chair as one organism. The primary speaker, designated Collective Voice 7, studied Sarah with multiple eyes. The human is young, they observed. Inexperienced. Why does the council believe she can succeed where others have failed? Maybe because I'm willing to admit I don't have all the answers, Sarah said. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to help you find what you both want, an end to this war that preserves what you value most. And what do I value, human? Thrak'Enar challenged. Honor. Legacy. The knowledge that your deeds will be remembered. And us? Collective Voice 7 asked. Survival of your collective memory. Continuation of your shared consciousness. The certainty that your society will endure. Silence. Both parties stared at her. These are not compatible goals, Thrak'Enar said finally. Aren't they? Sarah pulled up a holographic display, showing casualty statistics, destroyed worlds, cultural artifacts lost to warfare. Right now, you're both losing what you value most. Cronath warriors die without witnesses to record their deeds. Sill memory nodes are destroyed, erasing centuries of collective experience. You're fighting to preserve your identities, but the war itself is destroying them. Collective Voice 7's unified expression shifted, surprise, perhaps, or realization. The human speaks truth. We have lost 847 years of shared memories to this conflict. Irretrievable data. Gone forever. And I have seen warriors perform acts of incredible bravery with no one to witness, Throck-Nar admitted grudgingly. Their honor dies with them unrecorded. This troubles me. Sarah leaned forward. So let's talk about how to stop losing what matters. Not about who was right or wrong 17 years ago. Not about territory or resources. About how to preserve what makes your species worth preserving. For the first time since the war began, both sides nodded in agreement. The breakthrough. The negotiation lasted 8 hours. Sarah didn't try to solve everything at once. Instead, she focused on small agreements, building trust incrementally. The Cronath wanted their dead honored. The Sil agreed to maintain memorial archives, a practice that aligned with their cultural values anyway. The Sil wanted buffer zones to protect colony worlds. The Cronath agreed, viewing the zones as proving grounds for testing warriors without threatening civilian populations. Every agreement was small. Every compromise was careful. But slowly, impossibly, a framework emerged. This is acceptable, Throck-Nar said finally, reviewing the preliminary treaty. My people will debate the specifics, but the structure honors our needs. We concur, Collective Voice 7 said. The framework preserves collective interests while acknowledging individual perspectives. Unusual, but functional. Sarah wanted to collapse with relief but kept her expression neutral. Then we have preliminary agreement. The detailed negotiations will take months, but you both demonstrated willingness to find solutions. That's more than anyone expected. As both parties prepared to leave, Throck-Nar paused. Human child, you have done something 53 diplomats could not. Perhaps courage comes in unexpected forms. You have my respect. And our collective acknowledgement, Collective Voice 7 added. Your pattern recognition abilities are notable. We will study this meeting as an example of successful interspecies mediation. After they left, Sarah sat alone in the empty room, hands shaking now that she could finally let herself feel the fear she'd suppressed for 8 hours. She'd done it. Somehow, impossibly, she'd actually done it. Her communicator buzzed. Ambassador Kreldar's message was brief. Well done, Dr. Chen. Report to High Command tomorrow. We need to discuss your new assignment. Sarah laughed, a slightly hysterical sound in the empty room. New assignment? She'd barely survived this one. But as she looked at the preliminary treaty displayed on her screen, a document that might save billions of lives, she felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Purpose. The unexpected consequence. The recognition. Word of the preliminary peace agreement spread through the Galactic Diplomatic Corps like wildfire. By the time Sarah returned to her office, she found it filled with flowers, gifts, and congratulatory messages from species she'd never heard of. Her small, forgotten corner of the station had become the most visited location on the entire facility. Ambassador Kreldar's office was considerably more chaotic. When Sarah entered, she found him surrounded by holographic displays, all showing news coverage from different worlds. Her face appeared on most of them. Dr. Chen, Kreldar said, his crystalline body pulsing with what she'd learned to recognize as amusement. You've become something of a celebrity. 17 news networks want interviews. The Cronath have composed 3 battle poems about you. The Sil have added you to their collective memory as a notable pattern recognition entity. And I've received 47 requests from other conflict zones asking specifically for your mediation services. Sarah's stomach dropped. 47? The galaxy has been watching the Cronath-Sil conflict for years. Everyone assumed it was unwinnable. Your success has given hope to dozens of other stalled negotiations. He paused. It's also created a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where everyone now believes humans possess some unique ability to resolve impossible conflicts. They're calling it human perspective, the theory that your species' relative newness to galactic society allows you to see solutions others miss. Sarah sank into a chair. That's not. I mean, I just looked at the situation differently. Any good mediator could have. But they didn't, Kreldar interrupted gently. For 17 years, trained diplomats tried and failed. You succeeded in 8 hours. Whether you possess some unique human quality or simply approached the problem with fresh eyes, the result is the same. People believe in you now. So what happens next? That depends on you. I can assign you to another conflict zone immediately, or give you time to train properly, or send me back to translation work, Sarah finished. Let someone more experienced handle the high-stakes negotiations. Kreldar's colors shifted to something that might have been disappointment. Is that what you want? Sarah thought about the past 3 days, the terror, the pressure, the crushing responsibility of knowing billions of lives depended on her success. She thought about going back to her quiet office, filing paperwork, living a safe, predictable life. Then she thought about Thrakanair's respect, hard-earned and genuinely meant. About Collective Voice 7's acknowledgement of her pattern recognition. About the preliminary treaty that would stop young Cronath warriors from dying unremembered and protect Sil memory archives from destruction. No, she said quietly. It's not what I want. But I need training. Real training. I got lucky with the Cronath and Sil, but luck isn't a reliable strategy. Kreldar's colors brightened. Excellent answer. I'm assigning you to Ambassador Till as a formal apprentice. He has 40 years of experience and specifically requested you. Meanwhile, we have a situation developing that's less urgent than the Cronath-Sil war but equally complex. The new challenge. The briefing room was smaller this time, with only 5 council members present. Ambassador Till sat beside Sarah, his tentacles arranged in an encouraging pattern she'd learned meant confidence. The Draker Confederacy and the Ventari Alliance have been in a trade dispute for 8 months, Kreldar explained. It's not war yet, but tensions are escalating. Both sides are imposing sanctions that are hurting neutral parties. The economic damage is spreading to dozens of other systems. What makes this complicated? Sarah asked. The Draker value individual achievement and competition. Their economy is built on personal success. The Ventari value community welfare and collective prosperity. Their economy is built on shared resources. They're not fighting over territory or honor, they're fighting over fundamental economic philosophies. Sarah studied the holographic data. What have previous mediators tried? Compromise on trade regulations. Neither side budged. The Draker see compromise as weakness. The Ventari see individual gain as immoral. Every proposed solution has violated someone's core values. So we need to find a framework where both sides feel they're staying true to their principles while still enabling trade, Sarah said slowly. That means we can't ask either side to change who they are. We need to show them how their different approaches can coexist. Till's tentacles rippled with approval. You're learning quickly. What's your initial approach? Sarah thought about her success with the Cronath and Sil. She hadn't asked them to become different species, she'd helped them see that their different values weren't actually in conflict. I'd start by identifying what they both actually want from trade. Not their philosophical positions, but the practical outcomes. Then find ways to achieve those outcomes that respect both philosophies. Ambitious, Kreldar observed. The Draker representative is aggressive in negotiations. The Ventari representative tends to become defensive when values are questioned. Managing both personalities while addressing complex economic issues will be challenging. Then I'll need to study more than just economics. I need to understand their personal motivations, their negotiation styles, their triggers. Sarah looked at Till. How long do I have to prepare? 2 weeks. Use them wisely. The training. Ambassador Till was a demanding teacher. He put Sarah through simulation after simulation, playing different roles, forcing her to adapt to various negotiation styles. He was brutal in his criticism and sparing with praise, but slowly, Sarah began to understand the deeper patterns of diplomatic work. You're too eager to find solutions, Till told her after one particularly frustrating session. You need to let parties discover solutions themselves. Your job isn't to fix problems, it's to create conditions where fixing becomes possible. But how do I create those conditions when both sides are entrenched? By listening more than you talk. By asking questions instead of offering answers. By making them feel heard before you ask them to hear others. He paused. You did this instinctively with the Cronath and Syl. You let them explain their values before proposing frameworks. That made them feel respected, which made them willing to consider compromise. Sarah practiced listening. She studied interrogation techniques, therapeutic communication methods, even hostage negotiation tactics. Every field that dealt with high-stakes communication had lessons to offer. She learned to read body language across dozens of species, to recognize when silence meant consideration versus anger, to know when to push and when to wait. On day 10 of her training, till brought in a surprise, Commander Throck Nar appeared via hologram, his scarred face displaying something that might have been amusement. The human child who became a mediator, he rumbled. Ambassador Till requested I assist your training. I am to play myself in a simulation. Let us see if your success was skill or fortunate accident. The simulation was brutal. Throck Nar played an aggressive Cronath commander, refusing all compromise, dismissing every suggestion, challenging every statement. Sarah tried her original approach, identifying shared values, building from common ground. It failed completely. After 3 hours of getting nowhere, Sarah finally stopped talking and just asked, Commander, why are you really refusing? Not the reasons you're stating, but the actual reason. What are you afraid of losing? Throck Nar's hologram went still. Then, this is a simulation. That question is unfair. But it's the right question, isn't it? In the real negotiation, you were afraid your warriors' deaths would become meaningless. Every strong position hides a fear. Understanding the fear is how we address the real issue. Throck Nar laughed, the sound echoing through the training room. The human learns quickly. Yes, fear drives us more than pride admits. Ambassador Till, your student shows promise. Perhaps humans do possess useful perspective. After the simulation ended, Till's tentacles arranged in a pattern Sarah had learned meant serious consideration. You found the core truth: negotiation is about addressing underlying fears, not stated positions. Many diplomats spend entire careers without learning that lesson. Did you know? When you assigned this simulation? I suspected. You demonstrated the instinct during your first negotiation. But instinct must become conscious skill if you're to succeed long-term. Now you understand why you succeeded, which means you can replicate that success. The second negotiation. The Draker representative was named Kexthor, a being covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with his emotions. He arrived radiating confidence and barely concealed contempt. The Ventari representative was called Harmonious Voice of Many, a collective consciousness similar to the Syl but smaller, representing only 7 minds instead of 7,000. Let us be clear, Kexthor announced immediately. The Ventari economic model is parasitic. Individual achievement drives progress. Their collective coddling produces stagnation. We have nothing to learn from such a system. And the Draker philosophy is destructive, Harmonious Voice countered. Individual greed creates inequality. Suffering. Our shared prosperity model ensures no one is left behind. We have nothing to learn from exploitation. Sarah let them argue for 10 minutes, just listening, watching their body language and emotional displays. Finally, she raised a hand. I have a question for both of you. What do your people actually want from trade? Victory, Kexthor said immediately. Dominance. Proof that our system is superior. Security, Harmonious Voice said. Stability. Assurance that our community's needs are met. So one side wants to win, the other wants to be safe. These aren't incompatible. Sarah pulled up economic data. Kexthor, your traders want access to Ventari agricultural resources. Harmonious Voice, your collectives want access to Draker technology. Both sides have something the other needs. We know this, Kexthor snapped. That's why we're attempting trade. But their regulations strangle individual initiative. And their lack of regulations creates predatory practices, Harmonious Voice added. Sarah nodded. What if we established different trade zones with different regulatory frameworks? Zones where Draker rules apply, allowing individual competition. Zones where Ventari rules apply, ensuring collective benefit. Traders choose which zones to operate in based on their preferences. Both representatives paused. That would create complexity, Kexthor said slowly. But it would allow my traders to operate freely in designated areas. It would require additional administration, Harmonious Voice admitted. But it would protect our collectives from practices we find harmful. It also means both your philosophies can coexist, Sarah continued. You're not compromising your values, you're acknowledging that different systems work for different contexts. Draker traders who value individual achievement can operate in competitive zones. Ventari collectives that prioritize community can operate in regulated zones. Everyone chooses the framework they prefer. The negotiation lasted 12 hours. Unlike her first mediation, this one involved complex economic modeling, detailed regulatory frameworks, and extensive discussion of implementation logistics. But the fundamental breakthrough came in the first hour, showing both sides they didn't need to change who they were to achieve what they wanted. When they finally signed the preliminary trade framework, Kexthor studied Sarah with newfound respect. The humans are indeed interesting. You lack the physical prowess of the Chronath, the collective intelligence of the Sill, the individual brilliance of my people. Yet you find solutions we miss. How? Sarah smiled tiredly. Maybe because we're new to all this. We don't have centuries of established thinking patterns. We see problems fresh, without assumptions about how things should work. It's not better or worse than your approaches, just different. Different can be valuable, Harmonious Voice agreed. The galaxy would benefit from more human mediators. After they left, Ambassador Till entered the room. 2 for 2. Most impressive, Dr. Chen. Though I notice you're exhausted. Is it always this intense? Usually more so. These were relatively simple conflicts, clear issues, rational actors, genuine desire for resolution. Many situations involve irrational hatred, historical trauma, psychological manipulation. Those negotiations can last months or even years. Sarah thought about that, months of this pressure, this responsibility. The weight of billions of lives depending on her ability to find common ground between species that had been enemies for generations. It should have terrified her. Instead, she felt alive. When's the next assignment? She asked. Till's tentacles arranged in a pattern she'd learned meant approval. Eager to continue. Good. The galaxy has hundreds of conflicts awaiting mediation. Most will be more difficult than your first two. Some may be impossible. Are you certain you want this career? Sarah thought about her quiet life on Earth, studying alien languages in university classrooms, dreaming of diplomatic work but never really expecting to do anything this significant. She thought about how random circumstances had thrust her into situations she wasn't prepared for, and how she'd somehow found ways to survive and succeed. I'm certain, she said. Someone needs to do this work. Someone needs to help species find common ground. If humans really do have a unique perspective to offer, then we have a responsibility to offer it. Spoken like a true diplomat. Very well. Rest for 3 days. Then I have something special planned, a multi-party negotiation involving 4 different species and competing territorial claims going back 200 years. It will make your previous assignments look simple. Sarah laughed. Just 3 days of rest? Consider it generous. Most mediators get less. Till moved toward the door, then paused. Dr. Chen, you've done exceptional work. Your species should be proud. The galaxy is better for your presence in it. After he left, Sarah sat alone in the negotiation room, thinking about everything that had happened since that 0300 summons 3 weeks ago. She'd been terrified, overwhelmed, certain she'd fail. But she'd also discovered something important: humans might be new to the galactic community, physically weaker than most species, technologically primitive compared to ancient civilizations. But they could listen. They could see patterns others missed. They could find common ground where others saw only impossible differences. And sometimes, in a galaxy full of ancient grudges and entrenched positions, a fresh perspective was exactly what was needed. Sarah pulled up her schedule for the coming months. 5 more negotiations already scheduled, 3 marked as extremely difficult, 1 labeled potentially impossible. The old Sarah, the one who'd filed paperwork in a forgotten office, would have panicked. The new Sarah, the mediator who'd helped end a 17-year war in 8 hours, just smiled and started preparing. The galaxy needed someone willing to see impossible problems as simply difficult challenges waiting for creative solutions. And if humans were good at anything, it was refusing to accept that something couldn't be done just because it had never been done before. Sarah Chen had found her calling. And she was just getting started.